All right, so transfers in prison. Why do they happen? How do they happen? Been a lot of questions about that. So I was in prison for 27 years. I got transferred many times, numerous times. I was in 12 different institutions. But a transfer sometimes entails more than being transferred or in transit 12 times or 12 different institutions. Because there might be holdovers, there might be bus rides, there might be plane rides. There's a million things that could actually go into you getting transferred. So it's not you get transferred once, you get on a bus, you go to a certain place. No, it doesn't work like that in the feds. So, and we'll get into that, how that works in, the mechanics of transferring a federal inmate. Also, why? Like, people always ask me, why did you go to so many different jails? So, first off, there's many reasons to get transferred. I got transferred because my points dropped. I went to lower security institutions. I got transferred because my points got jacked up and I went to higher security prisons. I got transferred a few times for not having been found guilty of anything, but something called a SIS transfer, closer supervision transfer, to actually go to a higher security institution without no wrongdoing, because the investigators recommend that you should go to a higher security institution. So a few things to cover. First of all, let's go over why you would get transferred if you was in prison. Okay, the reasons for transfer. There's a fight in a jail, and you get caught in the middle of it. You're in the chow hall, somebody hits you, you hit somebody back, you're in the middle of a fight, right? You could get transferred for that, right? Violence, because sometimes they'll split the parties up. Say, for instance, something geographical happens. Say if, for instance, the DC car had a problem with the Boston car and there was a serious problem. You was in your cell, you were sleeping, you didn't know anything was going on, but you'll still get transferred because you're with all the Boston guys. So they'll get all the Boston guys out of there, or they would get one party or the other out of there. First of all, they would lock you up. I mean, everybody's getting locked up. If your friends got into a fight, then you're getting locked up too. You do that with gang members, the same gang. Other reasons for transfer are you got in trouble in a jail, singularly, right, by yourself. Say, for instance, you got caught with a cell phone. Some institutions, it's an automatic transfer. So you go to the SHU, you do your 90 days in the SHU, your 6 months, you do your seg time. They take all your privileges away from you. And then when all your time is up, they don't send you back out to the jail. They put you on a bus, put you on a plane, wherever, and they transfer you. We'll get into how you get transferred. Other reasons for transfers, like I said, good reasons, right? You could actually be in a penitentiary, your points drop, you go to a medium, and the next team, they tell you, hey, listen, your points just dropped, give us a recommendation where you would like to go. They ask you where you want to go, but where they send you ultimately is up to them. Sometimes they go by, say, hey, I'd like to go a little closer to home. Can you send me to, for instance, Schuylkill, Pennsylvania? That's what I did where I went. And I asked them for Schuylkill, and I got Schuylkill. So, but when the transfer is for, when they're for positive reasons, when your security level drops and you go to a lower security institution, they're more apt, obviously, right, to send you to the institution you want to go. But if you get caught with a knife, you go to the SHU and you get transferred, that you go wherever they send you. You have no say on where you're going. They would laugh at you if you said, hey, I want to go here. It don't work like that. So those are the reasons you can get transferred. So, I just basically give you the generalities of it. There's a million reasons. Or no reason at all. Sometimes, imagine this, that, when Lee County Penitentiary opened, and I was in Leavenworth Penitentiary, they put a paper on the wall, and they said, listen, a new penitentiary's open in Virginia. If you'd like to go there, put your name down. And they transferred everybody that put their name down. Now, afterwards, there wasn't enough people to run the jail. They needed more people, right? So then they just started, picking people, hand picking people, and that sucks too, because it's called a population increase. They need people at jails that transfer you to another jail just because of a population increase. So there's a million reasons why they can transfer you. Basically, I just went over the ones that generally happen day to day in the Federal Bureau of Prisons. Now, what is the process when you get transferred? It's a huge, long process, right? So first of all, let's get into the process where, if you're getting transferred as a disciplinary transfer, they're getting you got into a fight, or they found, for instance, they found wine or drugs in your cell, and they go to your work, they say, hey, we found something in your cell, hands behind your back, to put you in the shoe. Then they throw all your property together. Sometimes they'll miss shit. Sometimes they'll take some of your bunky stuff, leave some of your stuff. Then, when you get to the next institution and you find your property, you're like, what is all this? So it's always the best way to go is if you can, they tell you you're getting transferred, and then they'll call you down to R&D and say, hey, you got to pack out. So then you're going. You don't know what day it's going to be, but at least you get to pack your own property out. Give you the stuff that's extra to your friends, or stuff that you can't transfer, give it to your friends. This way here, at least what you got. You travel light, you don't buy nothing from the store for the last couple of weeks, and you just kind of, have all your property dwindle down, all your food, your cosmetics, because now when you get to another jail, you're just going to go right to the store and buy stuff. You're not going to wait for your property, because your property don't follow you in the same plane. Your property goes in boxes, and, however it gets there, through the mail. And, you wait. Sometimes you wait 2 weeks to get your property, 3 weeks, a month. Sometimes it's there waiting for you. You never can tell, you know what I'm saying? 6 of one, half dozen another. You never know, So it's always better to go on your own terms to get transferred, because when you get on a disciplinary transfer, you never know what you're getting. It's a nightmare. They lose half your stuff, So that's how they transfer you. They transfer you by, you go on a disciplinary transfer. If it's your fault, you go whenever. They put you on a plane whenever. You're usually in the shoe. You're not going back to general population. You leave from the shoe and it's over. When you do leave from general population on those transfers where your points dropped or whatever the case may be so the process works like this. They will, put you in for the transfer. And then you'd be like, hey, boss, how long? What are they saying? What's it usually taking? How's things? Because it goes to the DSCC in Grand Prairie, Texas. DSCC stands for Designation Sentence Computation Center. They do all the transfers. So when your case manager puts you in, of course, you got to get put in by your case manager. Then the unit manager has to sign off on it. The AW, the warden, has to sign off on it. Has to go through the whole thing. And they call that routing. That process is the routing process. So it has to get okayed within the institution. And when everybody okays it in the institution, it comes back to your case manager, and your case manager sends it electronically to Designation Sentence Computation Center in Grand Prairie, Texas. The transfers used to be done by the region, but that changed many years ago. And now one place does it, and it's not even a BOP location. It's just a office buildings in Grand Prairie, Texas, where they take care of all of your sentence computation, the designations, and things of that nature. So your paperwork goes in there. So now you're waiting, right? And then you'll be like, man, I'm going on a transfer. When it was COVID and I was going to Berlin, it took forever. But that was a very, very isolated time in prison, So the norm of getting transferred probably takes you 3 to 6 weeks before you leave the institution. They'll tell you, you will see a case manager at Mainline. You'll be like, hey, how's my paperwork? And they'll be like, oh, it's routing within the institution. And, then the next day you see them, the warden signed off on it. You're in Texas. That's the code word for, you're in Texas. If they say, oh, you're in Texas, obviously you're not physically in Texas. That means your paperwork's in Texas. You're in Texas. So you're like, oh, how long does it usually take? And it usually takes anywhere from 5 to 20 days, 3 weeks, the max. when I was there anyway. I mean, things have changed. Probably, who knows? Things change all the time. So you're waiting, and in the time you're waiting, right? Say like when you get designated, then it'll be like, oh, you're designated. Then when you're designated, that means that Texas has made a determination where you're going, and they know the institution you're going to. It's it's this crazy thing they do in the feds where like some case managers will tell you where you're going, some case managers won't. It don't matter. Just tell you where you're going. You know what I mean? You can find out. Anybody can tell you that has sensory access. But, they play games sometimes. Like, oh, you can't know for security reasons where you're going. You end up finding where you're going. You end up asking a rec officer, another case manager, because it don't matter, really. It's not a security breach. Come on. There's cops with guns everywhere. Nobody's going to break into a bus. Could it happen? Yeah, but it's so highly unlikely that it's infinitesimal, the chances of it happening. But some people get anal about it and they won't tell you. So you finally get designated. You're designated. If you got a cool case manager, you'll be like, yeah, you got what you wanted. You're going to, let's use Schuylkill as an example. Oh, you're going to Schuylkill. All right, so now you start thinking, now you're talking to your friends, yo, I'm going to Schuylkill. Now, from the time you get designated, it probably takes you about, I don't know, I'd say like 2 to 3 weeks before you leave, maybe 10 days. It could be anything. I mean, sometimes, you get designated and the whole trip was there. You were the last guy to get designated in the whole bundle, and you end up leaving 2 days later. But it's rare, right? So it usually takes about 2 weeks. Then, you start finding out what the schedules are. People down R&D that work there will tell you, oh, that bus leaves this day, whatever the case may be is. That load goes out this day. So you kind of start figuring it out, And like I say, you start, dwindling your property down a little bit. Like, you don't buy food at the store no more because you can only take so much food. Then at some point in time, you're leaving because they'll be like, hey, they just called you down to R&D to pack out. Pack out means you bring your property down there. You got to fit in 2 boxes. Sometimes, like when I was going to school, I had permission from the education director that I could take a box of books. I could take another additional box that the BOP would pay for because they have my school materials in it, whatever the case may be is. So, but usually it's 2 boxes. 2 small boxes where your property can fit into. You put all your clothes and your sneakers in one, your books, few books that you put in there, food, whatever, and another one. And they pack you up and they say, okay, you're all set. Now you don't have anything. Now you just got a toothbrush that obviously I used to just leave all my cosmetics and go get cosmetics at the next jail. And then I'd have a pair of old shower shoes that I was wearing anyway. Your friends will give you clothes, whatever the thing is. You're only there. Once you pack out, you're only there for a few more days. You know what I'm saying? Like a week the most. Sometimes a bus will get delayed and they'll be like, hey, they'll be like, hey, let me get my property back. Nah, it's already packed. Forget it. You're dead. You know what I'm saying? I've seen people wait 2, 3 weeks sometimes when there's delays or, things that are anomalous, not all the time. Usually you're waiting a few days and then you go anyway, So now what's the process after that? So you find out you're leaving, you tell all your friends you're leaving, everybody knows you're leaving, so you're waiting for the day that you're leaving, you're giving half your shit away that, better off in your friends' hands than you can't take it with you. Sometimes clippers, people try to hide them. Stamps, they'll try to hide extra stamps, try to bring phones in there, try to find a way to, put phones and whatever. And, some people have had success, a lot of people haven't. But I never really packed anything that I wasn't supposed to have. I mean, they're going to x-ray all your property, you know what I'm saying? So I just never brought anything. I just brought what I should have brought. If I want something, I'll get it at the next jail, But then they'll call you down to R&D, and they'll be like, all right, then you're leaving, right? You're like, all right, Bartolomeo, R&D. So you're like, oh, shit, I'm going. The bus is leaving. So what they do is they bring you down. There's usually 40, right? A package is 40 people go on a bus. Maybe it's 15, maybe it's 11, maybe it's 30, but the max is 40. So, most of the times they like to try to maximize their capacity and just bring everybody at once, right? Why leave people behind? Just put everybody on a bus that's going out of the institution that day. Then sometimes they'll take you to an airport, right? Sometimes they'll fly you to Oklahoma for the holdover, fly you to Atlanta for the holdover, put you on a bus, put you on a holdover somewhere else. A holdover is just, like when I left institutions, I would go to usually like Oklahoma City. Then you'd wait like a week, 2 weeks, 3 weeks. I got stuck there a couple times. Then you go to Atlanta, the worst prison in the fucking face of planet Earth, probably. I shouldn't say that because there's some really bad prisons in other countries, right? We don't know how good we got it here, but it was horrible for the BOP. It was the worst. When they used to call your name to leave Atlanta, it was like you was getting a parole right there. It was the best. You felt like you were free. But anyway, the holdover is a place where they just, get a bunch of people to go to one spot. So say if you're going to Schuylkill and you're in Virginia, right? You're not getting on a bus going from Virginia to Schuylkill, Pennsylvania. Never happened unless you're going on a medical trip. Again, it would be the anomaly. You could, it's possible, but highly unlikely. And if you're going on a regular custody transfer, you're never going straight to one place. Unless you go to, like, for instance, you could go to Fairton to Fort Dix that same day on a transfer because it's right up the street from each other. And then, you get lucky. That very seldom happens. It happened to me once. I've been in transit for weeks at a time sometimes. But then you just hold over and you got nothing. They give you a bedroll, there's a little tiny toothbrush about this big, you brush your teeth like this, it's retarded. A little bar of soap, sometimes they're usually in the little, individual portion, little tinfoil bags, and you're like, you got enough just to wash your body. Brutality. And you got none of your property because your property's getting shipped to where you're going. And that's what they say, you stay there on holdover. That's why sometimes when I say I've been to 12 institutions, it's a lot more than 12 institutions because on my way to one institution, I got held over at 3 different institutions. I would go to, say, for instance, one time I went from Oklahoma City, holdover, Atlanta, holdover, Lewisburg, holdover, Canaan, holdover, sometimes even Petersburg, Virginia, holdover, unless I got designated there one time too in Petersburg, Virginia. But so, there's many institutions. How many institutions have I been in? In the feds, if I did the math, probably 40, 30 institutions. I was in 12, sentenced. That was my final designation was 12 institutions. So you're on holdover. And then, one day they wake you up, they'll be like, hey, get in the hold and, come down to R&D. You got to go to R&D. So now they get you up at 3:30 in the morning, 4 o'clock in the morning. It's brutal. It's a nightmare. Can't shave, or if you do shave, they got these little razors that are horrible. Remember one time I went to shave in Atlanta. I looked and the razor's already hair in there. I'm like, what are you, fucking retarded? I didn't even have a towel. I was wiping my body off with a T-shirt. Brutality, right? So then when you finally do get in this, so you're on holdover, then you travel. You go to a bus, you go to an airport, you get on a plane, they drop you off at another airport, you get on a bus, you go holdover. You get the idea. So sometimes you might just go to a holdover, the next day they pick you up, and then you go right to the institution the next day. Sometimes you hit it. You know what I'm saying? I've been transferred so many times. I hit it a few times. I hit it when I went to one institution, like a holdover, and I didn't even get to sleep there. They call you, hey, come on, you got a bus. Now I go to the bus, go to another place, and I'm catching another bus right there. It's waiting in the garage right there. And I'm like, boom, and I get to my institution in 2 days. Highly unlikely, but sometimes it does happen. Sometimes I waited 3 weeks in 3 different spots. Sometimes I wait a month and a half. Brutality. You know what I mean? But sometimes you catch it. If you travel enough, you catch it good. If you travel enough, sometimes you don't catch it so good. So when you finally do get to your institution, the last part of the transfer is you finally arrive at your destination where you're going to be doing your time, whatever. You're going to be housed there for a while until your next transfer, till you go home, whatever. Now you get there, you got to go through R&D. They got to check you in. You got to go to the doctor. You got to fill out all these forms. Then they assign you a house. You got to go up there. You got nothing. They give you a bedroll. You know what I'm saying? Hopefully your friends are waiting outside with a care package for you because your property's probably not going to follow you. Although sometimes I've been to a couple R&Ds and they're like, hey, what's your name? I tell them, oh, your property's right here. Get all your property. So I'm leaving R&D from the spot with my property. Score. Never happens. I think it might have happened twice. You know what I mean? But, sometimes you hit it. Sometimes you hit it right. Sometimes the next day they're calling you to R&D early in the morning. Other times you're down like R&D saying, hey, listen, I've been here 3 weeks. Where's my property? Oh, I don't know. I got to call you know what I'm saying? So sometimes you don't hit it so good, So that would be the last part of the transfer is when you're getting all your stuff. You start to get acclimated in the joint that you're in and, then it starts all over again. So, and why do they transfer you so many times? Listen, For me, I don't believe it's, when they talk about diesel therapy, it happens to some people. There's no question about it. If you're a jerk off, you're going to get punished. And that's the way they punish you sometimes. Ever happened to me? No. Did I get fucking the raw end of the deal a few times on a transfer? Absolutely. Did I think it was anybody's fault? Like they were calculatingly taking stuff out on me? No, I never felt that way. It's just the apparatus is huge. You know what I mean? So it's like, I tell people the story. The greatest way to describe a Federal Bureau of Prisons transfer is I was in Virginia, the state of Virginia, going to another prison in the state of Virginia. Okay? You would think, okay, you get a bus ride from Virginia to Virginia, right? How far can it be, right? Big state, even who cares? You're in the same state. So for that transfer, I went to Oklahoma City, fact, Atlanta, holdover, and then back to Virginia. So I left Virginia, went to Oklahoma, went to Atlanta, and then I went back to Virginia. It's just, and did I think that was, calculated against me? No, it's just the way the apparatus is. They move you to Atlanta. Ultimately, they want to get you to Atlanta. I was on the run, not going to Atlanta. I went to Oklahoma City. So I went in Oklahoma City, went to Atlanta, where I should have just went on a bus to Atlanta but that was a Thursday. I went on a Tuesday, so I went to Oklahoma City. That's where they centralize everybody. Now, from there, so you got 7 people. Then you go to Oklahoma City, you get 20 more people, you got 27. You get to Atlanta, then there's the full 40. They put you on a bus and take you to your institution, which is right there. It's just the way they do it. So, those are the reasons and, the hows you get transferred. So, listen, sometimes it's a nightmare, but you get to kill a lot of time. You get to see a lot of the country in handcuffs and shackles, looking out the window. So anyway, share this with your friends. Tell them about the channel. Tell them, that you like it, so they're going to like it too. Like it, subscribe, get them to subscribe. And tell me what you want to hear next. That was getting transferred and why you get transferred. Have a good one. Thank you.